He parked by the roadside and walked in by himself. Sitting there watching the computer screen, Zhou Zhang sighed softly. As expected, the central authority has abundant medication and materials. He recognized the familiar vial, the special drug, and thought to himself, sure enough, it has come all the way here, but it's too expensive. The screen displayed information: special drug, 58 vials, priced at a low-level red crystal per pill. Zhou Zhang had no choice but to grit his teeth and buy them all. He even thought, even poison needs to be supplemented a bit. 10 minutes later, he casually stepped outside and spoke, I must quickly return before the liberation, throwing Zhou Zhang into the top martial artist group of the server, so for now, I need to work much harder to catch up with them. Zhou Zhang clenched his fists, his gaze filled with determination. He murmured, but in the end, I can finally start my special training. At the same time, at headquarters, Tang Su was reporting the situation. Director, Zhou Zhang has just requested to go to the grassland of the river valley. The director asked lightly, that's probably the area with level 16 beasts, right? He looked over Zhou Zhang's file, nodding. Zhou Zhang is indeed not simple, really makes others look forward to what comes next. At that moment, Zhou Zhang was leisurely riding his green dragon. He shouted loudly, Beast, appear! The green dragon quickly soared into the sky. Zhou Zhang landed in a sleigh position. Before him lay the grassland of the river valley, teeming with monsters. They were level 16 fluorescent wolves, each one drooling at the sight of a delicious morsel right before them. Zhou Zhang calmly consumed a vial of frenzy medicine, then he charged forward, shouting loudly, kill! The next day, Tang Su brought the score report and said, Director, here is today's score growth rate. After reviewing it briefly, the director was slightly taken aback. He furrowed his brows and said, Mr. Chu Fei, who ranks first, actually increased by over 3,000 points. When he looked at the name of the person with the highest score increase, he was even more surprised. Zhou Zhang? The director muttered softly, that's right, he's gone to the level 16 River Valley Plains, and a level 10 challenging level 16. He thought to himself, indeed, one cannot just casually send a weak person to determine benefits for themselves. At the same time, Zhou Zhang was leisurely sipping water on top of the pile of fluorescent wolves. In the blink of an eye, 6 days had passed, and the data was updated. Zhou Zhang, level 12, ranked 138, with a score of 19,780. At the training base, martial artists were buzzing with discussion, is he even human? In just a few short days, he has leveled up twice, and his rank has risen to 138. Upon hearing this, Zhou Zhang didn't care much. He walked leisurely, his gaze calm as if nothing mattered. At the dining hall, Shen Junhang softly remarked, Zhou Zhang, this time you really opened their eyes. Zhou Zhang, munching away, humbly replied, don't talk nonsense, what have I done to open their eyes? In the bustling cafeteria, a martial artist suddenly slammed the table fiercely, startling everyone around. He shouted loudly, Zhou Zhang, I challenge you. Do you dare to accept? Xiao Jianling glanced over and recognized the opponent. It was Zhang Wei from Hurricane City, a peak level 18 martial artist, ranked 197 th. The surrounding martial artists started to discuss. One person nodded and said, that's right, a level 18 challenging a level 12, isn't that just bullying the weak? Not wanting the situation to escalate, Xiao Jianling stood up, looked straight at Zhang Wei, and said, Zhang Wei, if you want to challenge someone, you can aim for me. I don't mind playing with you. Zhang Wei stubbornly retorted, I'm asking Zhou Zhang, not you. Zhou Zhang, do you dare? Zhou Zhang remained calm, gently putting down his bowl. He smirked, his tone full of disdain, if someone is eager to gift me points, then why wouldn't I dare? Immediately, his watch displayed a notification, Zhang Wei, Hurricane City has sent a challenge. Do you want to accept or decline? Xiao Jianling became worried and softly said, Zhou Zhang, there's no need to accept this boring duel. However, Zhou Zhang only smiled, reassuring him, don't worry. Saying that, he pressed the accept button, his eyes filled with confidence, I have my own plans. Hearing this, Xiao Jianling sighed and shook his head, haze. He then turned to Zhang Wei, flashing a half smile, kid, I've been merciful. You better hope for your own good.
Zhang Wei shivered slightly upon hearing that.
The next day, the martial artists gathered in full force at the arena. A bespectacled man excitedly shouted, "Now, the first training match between Zhou Zhang from the burial ground and Zhang Wei from Hurricane City. Don't be afraid of me not paying up, I just fear that you won't dare to bet." A martial artist with a bun then placed a red crystal, boldly betting on Zhang Wei.
Yun Dongwei confidently placed 3 red crystals, causing everyone to buzz with discussion. Is this keto crazy? One person in the crowd shrugged and sneered, if he has the money, he can do whatever he wants.
At that moment, Xiao Jianling pushed Yun Dongwei aside and irritably said, "Now that the bets are placed, hurry up and go, don't hinder my chance to make money."
Yun Dongwei then asked, curiosity evident in his voice, "So, Mr. Xiao, how much do you want to bet?" Xiao Jianling simply held up 3 fingers, saying nothing more.
Seeing that, Yun Dongwei laughed mockingly, "Showing off like that, it's just 1 crystal more than me."
Xiao Jianling confidently replied loudly, "What do you think?"
"I bet 3 black crystals." The spiky-haired martial artist nearby whispered to his companion, "Boss, right now the people betting on Zhang Wei have already taken more than half.
We won't make a profit." The bespectacled man stroked his chin and said with a faint smile, "Do you understand anything? We need to get more people to bet on Zhang Wei, only then will we profit." The spiky-haired man was slightly surprised. "You mean Zhou Zhang is destined to lose?" The bespectacled man smirked coldly, "I haven't said anything yet."
The referee's chair has been prepared. Zhou Zhang confidently steps onto the ring. Zhang Wei, with his weapon in hand, smirks, thinking, "This is my chance to bully the weak."
Yun Dongwei shakes his head, thinking to himself, "What's there to fight about? Zhou Zhang just needs to summon that beast, and it will be over in an instant, right?"
Xiao Jianling promptly corrects, "That will work."
"Have you forgotten about Qi Zhiyong?"
As Zhou Zhang walks by, the director greets him. Zhou Zhang lightly nods and replies, "Director, you've worked hard." The director thinks to herself, this Zhou Zhang, though only just reached level 12, gives off an unpredictable vibe. She smiles, giving him an encouraging gesture.
However, when Zhang Wei walks by, all 3 judges fall silent. He angrily thinks, "Why is no one greeting me?"
Once both competitors are on the stage, the director says, "The rules for the challenge, I believe I don't need to elaborate further. The person who is tagged will receive 10% of the points from the loser."
Zhou Zhang, 21,241 points. Zhang Wei, 18,940 points. She announces loudly, "Begin the match."
Immediately, Zhang Wei points at Zhou Zhang's face and shouts, "Zhou Zhang, I have no personal grudge against you, but one should still be a bit humble.
Prepare to fail."
Zhou Zhang assumes a defensive stance, his gaze full of confidence. "All right, based on your words, later I might not harm you."
Being despised, Zhang Wei clenched his weapon tightly in anger and shouted, "You hurt me? Are you still asleep?"
He charged forward with a powerful strike, but the attack just barely missed.
Taking the opportunity, Zhou Zhang quickly counterattacked. Zhang Wei smirked and yelled, "Looking for death?
Watch me chop your arm to pieces."
Unexpectedly, Zhou Zhang easily deflected his attack with the tip of his knife. Zhang Wei couldn't help but shiver, bewildered, thinking, how is this possible? How could he block it? Sitting below and watching, the director smiled with interest. "Huh?
This Zhou Zhang is indeed fascinating." On the stage, Zhou Zhang lowered his voice, his gaze sharp as ice, "Then I'll start now." With that, he charged forward, launching a flurry of rapid attacks.
The blows came so fast that Zhang Wei couldn't react at all. Too fast. "Is this level 12? Zhang Wei exclaimed in shock, then shouted, "Tell me, is this level 12?
Zhou Zhang did not answer, he just surged forth like a whirlwind. His eyes ignited with killing intent. Following that, he swung his sword, creating a powerful arc. In an instant, Zhang Wei was completely overwhelmed, his clothes torn to shreds, leaving him with not a scrap of fabric to cover himself.
Zhou Zhang pressed the dagger against his throat and gritted his teeth, asking, "Do you want to continue fighting?"
Below, Chu Fei smiled slightly and exclaimed, "Too strong." Finally, Zhang Wei released his beloved weapon. He bowed his head in deep humiliation.
Tang Su loudly announced, in the challenge match, Zhou Zhang wins.
On the leaderboard, Zhou Zhang's score surged to 23,213. He smiled with satisfaction, walking past the astonished gazes of the martial artists below.
When he returned to the headquarters, Zhou Zhang enjoyed a peaceful sleep.
He woke up with a long yawn, checked the clock, and headed straight to the dining hall.
The atmosphere was quite empty at that moment. Zhou Zhang thought to himself, perhaps everyone has gone to earn points, right?
Suddenly, a bespectacled martial artist called out, "Zhou Zhang, if you don't mind, come sit over here."
Zhou Zhang smiled politely, "Hello brother Jia."
The bespectacled person reluctantly replied, "Hello."
But inside he mumbled, "I waited here for you for an hour."
The bespectacled martial artist continued, "Thanks to you yesterday, I managed to earn a considerable amount."
Zhou Zhang humbly responded, "It's mostly thanks to brother Jia's keen eye."
Hearing that, the bespectacled person laughed heartily, Brother Zhou, once this training session ends, I'll treat you to a real match in the central area."
The two clinked their glasses joyfully. "It's settled then."
After the meal, Zhou Zhang escorted the bespectacled martial artist out to the yard. The person named Jia said, "Brother Zhou, see you next time." Zhou Zhang waved his hand, smiling back, "See you next time." As he watched the helicopter gradually disappear, Zhou Zhang smiled faintly and thought to himself, "I should get going too."
Without hesitation, he took a deep breath and sprinted quickly into the dense forest.
After a while of running, Zhou Zhang stopped in a deserted area. He looked around, ensuring that no one was watching, and then silently thought, "This should be far enough." After confirming his safety, Zhou Zhang summoned his beast. A colossal green dragon appeared, letting out a thunderous roar. Zhou Zhang quickly jumped onto the dragon's back, looking quite pleased with his transportation. He gently stroked the beast's neck and laughed, saying, "This is not much slower than a helicopter, is it?" Pointing toward the horizon, Zhou Zhang shouted out his command, "Beast, today we are heading to the desertification place." The green dragon responded with a powerful roar, flapping its enormous wings, and soared straight into the sky. At the headquarters, a martial artist rushed in to report, "Captain, today Zhou Zhang did not request a vehicle from the training center."
Zhang Ruocheng frowned, astonished as he asked, "Are you sure?"
The martial artist nodded, confirming, "The intelligence was provided by the staff, it is absolutely correct." Zhang Ruocheng pondered for a moment before lowering his voice to give the order, "Notify all teams in that area.
As soon as there's news about Zhou Zhang, report to me immediately." He turned, his gaze sharp, "I don't believe it.
Outside this area, anywhere else would be a death zone for him." Standing next to him, Zhang Wei looked worried and asked, "Captain, why do we have to eliminate Zhou Zhang?" Zhang Ruocheng glanced at Zhang Wei, casually replying, "Ah Wei, how strong do you think Zhou Zhang really is?" Zhang Wei took a deep breath, recalling the fight with Zhou Zhang, his voice turning somber, "Very strong. His mysterious movements and attack waves felt overwhelming, even made me feel despair." Zhang Ruocheng looked up at the sky, his tone thoughtful, "Any tree before it grows into a large tree must go through a stage of being a young sapling." He paused for a moment and continued, his gaze sharp, "And if we want to grow from a sapling into a big tree, the first step is to eliminate him." At the same time, Zhou Zhang had set foot in the desertification place. He checked the information on his watch, thinking, if this area continues forward, it seems to be the territory of a level 19 snake and dragon. The poison of the snake and dragon. It is said to be a premium ingredient for making poison. Standing amidst the wilderness, Zhou Zhang began to scan the situation around him. Suddenly, his eyes stopped when he discovered a group of people facing off against a massive snake and dragon. Looking closer, Zhou Zhang realized that it was the group from the Business Alliance, a major force in the central region.
In front, the snake and dragon opened its mouth and roared, its screech reverberating through the air like a shockwave.
Its gigantic body exuded a menacing aura that made everyone around tense up. A martial artist in the group hurriedly pushed a teammate aside and shouted, "Get back!" The Business Alliance immediately coordinated, quickly throwing nets in an attempt to subdue the snake and dragon. However, the situation was not going smoothly. A loud scream rang out when the captain and San Zi from the group were simultaneously poisoned. Captain!
San Zi! Everyone panicked. A stunned martial artist asked, "What now? If we go back to the center for treatment, we definitely won't make it in time."
The captain tried to remain calm, his voice hoarse. San Zi, use star power to suppress the poison right now.
Otherwise, you're definitely going to die.
San Zi's face was pale as he struggled for breath, shaking his head. Captain!
I can't do it.
Watching from a distance, Zhou Zheng frowned. He thought to himself, the business alliance is a significant force in the central region.
Getting to know them can certainly do no harm.
Thinking for a moment, he immediately made a decision. Zhou Zheng took a vial of medicine from his pocket and thought, moreover, being able to save 2 people will definitely improve my mood. Upon seeing the arrival of the stranger, the business alliance immediately activated their defense protocols.
The captain shouted loudly, "Who are you?"
Zhou Zheng then presented a pink-red vial of medicine and spoke softly, "I have a way to detoxify everyone."
Without much hesitation, Zhou Zheng administered the antidote to the 2 injured people. The martial artists anxiously exclaimed, "Hey, what are you giving the captain?"
Zhou Zheng calmly continued to feed the medicine to the captain. Suddenly, a martial artist widened his eyes in astonishment and quickly yelled, "Everyone, look!
San Zi's poison is gone."
After the detoxification, the captain joyfully said, "Brother, thank you for your help."
Zhou Zheng gently replied, "It's nothing, really."
That night, Zhou Zheng stayed at the camp with the business alliance. San Zi loudly proclaimed, "Brother Zhou, my life was saved by you, so if there's anything you need, just let me know." Hearing this, Zhou Zheng humbly responded, "San Zi, you're overstating it. I was just passing by here to hunt, and I couldn't just stand by and watch when something like this happened." At that moment, the captain softly spoke, "Brother Zhou, this place is not suited for your level.
Isn't it too dangerous?"
Zhou Zheng opened his information watch, revealing the badge of the training center, causing everyone to be astonished that he was a trainee attending assessments in the Asia region. The captain let out a sigh and thought to himself, "I was short-sighted, it seems that Brother Zhou certainly has the skills to hunt here." San Zi laughed heartily, I knew Brother Zhou was not simple."
The next morning, the captain reluctantly asked, "Brother Zhou, are you sure you don't want to join us?
Hunting the poison of snake and dragon together would definitely be beneficial." Zhou Zheng politely declined, "No, my fighting style is different from everyone else's, it's better to hunt on my own." Watching his figure leave, San Zi couldn't help but be amazed. "I never expected Brother Zhou, at level 12, would be able to hunt in this area."
The captain thought that some talents could not be compared based solely on levels.
Immediately, Zhou Zheng moved to the area with the snake and dragon.
It roared ferociously, howling.
Zhou Zheng shouted, "Beast, go!" The green dragon quickly charged in and successfully subdued the snake and dragon, causing it to cry out in pain.
In the blink of an eye, a week had passed.
Sitting next to the carcass of the snake and dragon he had just defeated, Zhou Zheng smiled in satisfaction. "I have collected a few vials of snake and dragon venom, I should head back now." He stood up and softly said, "Beast, let's go." A moment later, Zhou Zheng arrived at the trading area of the Martial Artist Guild.
It was extremely bustling.
Zhou Zheng saw a young man holding a sign to buy snake and dragon blood at a high price.
He quietly stepped forward. Zhou Zheng softly said, "Find a place where there are no people talking."
Hearing this, the young man took Zhou Zheng to an alley. He spoke, thinking he also knew market prices, "I can make a little money too. The current market price is 2 high-level 16 red crystals, I can pay 2 high-level red crystals." The young man added, "Even so, it's safer than selling it directly on the regular market, at least the fees won't just be this much." Zhou Zheng gently replied, "The price is fine, but I wonder if you can handle the goods I have." The young man immediately said, "Whatever you have, I will buy it all." Zhou Zheng took out a vial of snake and dragon blood and said, "Just this amount." Seeing the large quantity, the young man's eyes widened in shock. After the transaction was successful, he waved as he left, "Pleasant cooperation, remember to look for me next time you have goods."
Next, Zhou Zhang continued to find others. I have goods, give your price. He softly asked, how much can you buy? Give me a price. As soon as he received the information, a man clenched his fist in frustration. I want to know what this is all about. The headquarters of the Business Alliance angrily shouted, just earlier, a large amount of snake and dragon poison flooded into the market. He immediately ordered, Tian, send someone to investigate who exactly has shipped the goods? The subordinate quickly replied, yes. The headquarters gritted their teeth and added, and also, buy back the poison for me, then raise the price. The price of snake and dragon blood continuously changed from 2 red crystals to 4 red crystals. Just one day later, everyone could not help but be astonished. Oh no! The selling price of snake and dragon blood had dropped to 3 red crystals. The Business Alliance was extremely shocked. Or have those people who buy red crystals gone, hanging around with 4 high-grade red crystals that nobody wants to buy? After that, the selling price of snake and dragon blood continued to plummet. Seizing the opportunity, Zhou Zheng quickly operated the screen and confirmed that the order had been successfully placed. He let out a sigh. Phew, I'm sorry, it's not that I want to deceive everyone, it's just that you all are too greedy, wanting to dive into this muddy pit and drown for sure. Zhou Zhang lightly smirked. However, that Business Alliance is indeed powerful, acting quickly and accurately. Having finished his task, Zhou Zhang went outside and murmured, disrupting the market, and they can even hit the timing just right, cannot escape. He stretched and told himself, no matter what, giving them the money to arrange things here is considered a profit. Meanwhile, another real estate employee happily exclaimed, Brother Zhou, you mean? She looked at him with sparkling eyes and asked, does he want to buy the entire villa complex next to the beach? Zhou Zhang immediately responded, that's right. At the central capital airport, Xiang Shirhan, Su Yunwen, and Lan Shi had arrived. They joyfully greeted each other. Zhou Zhang was then holding on to 2 sisters, one of whom grinned and teased, Brother Zhou, has it only been a short time and you're already feeling uncomfortable? Zhou Zhang replied with a punch to the other person and said, Brother Zhang, everyone has had a hard journey. The martial artist with spiky hair lightly asked, Brother Zhou, calling us to the central capital secretly like this, is there something you need to say? Looking at the fancy building in front of them, everyone was wide-eyed in surprise. You are giving each of us a villa to settle in the central capital? Zhou Zhang gently said, of course, this is just the first step. After hearing Zhou Zhang's plans, everyone was a bit stunned. Opening a company? Zhou Zhang quietly said, that's right, to stand firm in the central capital, we must have our own base. I have also purchased this building. Hearing that, everyone was stunned to the core. The captain of team number 7 raised the question, fifth brother, buying a building like this in the central capital must cost a lot, right? Zhou Zhang looked at the building and replied, 5 high-grade red crystals, but I believe it will be worth it. He then stated, from today onwards, its name is Starlight Building. Time flew by, and in just a few days, Zhou Zhang's rank had dropped to 255. He had been busy with many tasks recently, so he couldn't go earn points. Zhou Zhang let out a sigh, these idiots, it's only been a few days and I've already been pulled down so much by them. A martial artist spoke up, Brother Zhou, don't worry, just focus on your training, the Starlight Brigade has us. The captain of Team 7 also nodded, that's right, your matters are more important. Hearing that, Zhou Zhang stood up, turned away, and confidently said, alright then, I'll leave the Starlight Brigade in your hands, I'm off. Watching Zhou Zhang ride off on his beast, Lan Shi looked on in admiration, young Master Slay is incredible, when will I be able to be like him? A martial artist quietly advised, then hurry up and train, level up. The next day, Zhou Zhang continued battling beasts to earn points. He faced off directly against the aggressive serpents. Seeing Zhou Zhang's rank rise quickly, the director softly remarked, indeed, I believe Zhou Zhang's strength is definitely within the top 50. In just half a month, the aggressive serpents swam in the water, mouths open, ready to devour their prey. Zhou Zhang happily shouted, finally reached level 13. Zhou Zhang thought to himself, maybe I can take a little break. He took advantage of the time to cook. Lying in the shade, he secretly praised, the system backpack is indeed a travel treasure. Suddenly, Zhou Zhang opened his eyes and exclaimed, "Huh?" He noticed an unusual movement, someone was coming. At the same time, a group of people was setting up camp in the area next to him. They sat around the fire, and a martial artist glanced around, sniffing the air. "What's that smell? So fragrant." He looked over at Zhou Zhang, who was leisurely perched on a tree branch. Another martial artist asked in amazement, "Captain, what's going on? Why does this kid dare to come here alone? And he looks so carefree too?" The captain replied, "Wait until the mouse returns, we will know then." Soon after, a green-haired martial artist rushed over to report, "Captain, I've got the scoop, there's only him nearby. Moreover, this kid seems to be only level 13. Hearing this, the captain gripped the rice ball in his hand tightly. Level 13? Is he exaggerating? Enjoying hot pot and napping, it's like a vacation here? He glared and told the mouse to take a few brothers over there to teach him a lesson, to show him what it means for a big fish to eat a small fish. While resting during the afternoon, Zhou Zhang suddenly heard some noise. A group of unfamiliar men, rugged and armed, grinned maliciously. "Hee hee." Zhou Zhang sternly asked, "What do you want to do?" The black-haired man immediately drew his sword and shouted loudly, "Ha, what do we want to do? We want you to understand the cruelty of this world." They all charged towards Zhou Zhang, simultaneously shouting, "Die!" The strong man with a bun violently smashed the long chair Zhou Zhang was sitting on, but to his surprise, Zhou Zhang had already stepped back and smirked disdainfully. "No matter where you go, you can always meet a bunch of brainless fools. If you're not bored, then I'm already bored." Seeing this, the group couldn't help but be astonished. In just a blink of an eye, 3 of them were lying motionless on the ground. Witnessing the scene, team leader Bang was taken aback and shouted, "How could this happen?" He grabbed the collar of his subordinate and loudly questioned, "Didn't you say that person was only level 13? Shuti, how did they die?" At that moment, Zhou Zhang stepped forward and lightly asked, "Just because I am level 13, does that mean I can't kill someone? A level 13 martial artist dares to come to this forest alone, isn't that unexpected?" He continued, "On the contrary, you all didn't think about why I dared to come here alone, and instead were foolish enough to actively provoke me. Even the villains in novels wouldn't dare to kill someone as foolish as you." Just then, above Zhou Zhang's head, a beast was soaring with outstretched wings, the powerful green dragon roaring loudly. The impact from it was enough to throw the group into a state of panic. The strength of the beast caused the very earth to shake violently, trees falling down. In the blink of an eye, the beast had wiped out the group of people. Zhou Zhang leisurely picked up their items, and some money entered his account. He glanced at the leaderboard and murmured to himself, "The point gap has increased greatly, looks like I need to work harder." At the same time, a group of martial artists was earning points in the swamp. One person spoke up, "With the team leader helping me today, even a level 20 long-nosed pig is nothing." The martial artist behind subtly reminded, "Kid, don't let your guard down because of that." Suddenly they noticed unusual activity, and another team was here. Zhang Ruochang immediately rushed forward, saying, "Let's see what it is." At that moment, Zhou Zhan was busy fighting with a wild boar. He realized in shock, someone is coming. From the bushes, Zhang Wei was astonished to see the person who had once humiliated him. "It's him." Zhou Zhang and Zhang Wei quickly drew their weapons, not expecting to find him here after searching for so long. Zhang Wei asked the team leader, "Do we need to take action?" Zhang Ruochang quietly replied, "Not yet, let's watch first." Meanwhile, Zhou Zhang was engaged in combat with the monster boar, thinking to himself, "Those people seem to not plan on coming here." He continued to focus on the battle, determined to deal with this long-nosed pig first. He quickly dodged each attack from the monster, and then Zhou Zhang waited for the perfect moment, right in front of it. Zhang Ruochang felt a slight fear. The way he dodges at such a close distance, he has mastered it to such an extent. He gritted his teeth, but even if he can dodge, so what? With his level, breaking through level 20 would not be easy. At that moment, Zhou Zhang skillfully launched an attack towards the wild boar. Zhang Ruochang's eyes widened in amazement. He broke through. How did he do that? He thought to himself, impossible, absolutely impossible.
Zhou Zhang leaped high in response to the monster's fury, then struck a powerful blow to the head of the wild boar. Seeing this, Zhang Ruocheng thought, not good, this kid's potential is too frightening, he must be killed before he fully matures. Zhang Ruocheng believed, only by killing him can he maintain his position in the top 5. He clenched his hands in frustration. At that moment, Zhou Zhang sensed the aggressive energy, not good, they want to make a move. He quickly leapt away, retreat. Zhang Ruocheng immediately chased after him with a murderous gaze, want to run? Can you escape? Facing the attack from Zhang Xiechang, Zhou Zhang felt a bit stunned. So fast, I can't dodge in time. Suddenly he realized, that's right, there was this skill. Zhang Diqing threw a powerful punch straight at him, shouting loudly, die. Zhou Zhang forcefully raised his hand to block the attack, his eyes revealing a clear sense of worry. A powerful ray aimed straight at Zhou Zhang. After checking the situation, Zhang Ruocheng was somewhat surprised, there was no trace of blood. That blow earlier could have definitely penetrated him. At that moment, Zhou Zhang stood firm in a defensive stance and spoke, it seems you're not as strong as I imagined. He thought to himself, had he truly been hit just now, Zhou Zhang would have activated his damage transfer skill, level 125, which allowed him to transfer all damage for 3 seconds. The cooldown was 2 hours. Zhang Ruocheng appeared not to believe his eyes, how is that possible? I clearly. Zhou Zhang softly replied, thank you for escorting me a short distance. Then, he immediately turned around and ran quickly, not forgetting to say a farewell. Zhang Ruocheng angrily shouted, bastard. After chasing for a while, he was astonished, wondering, why is there not a single trace left? How can he run so fast? Zhang Ruocheng opened his mouth to call, Zhou Zhang. Unexpectedly, Zhou Zhang was using a stealth technique and hiding behind a large tree. Zhang Ruocheng loudly threatened, Zhou Zhang, this time I let you run, but next time you will definitely not be so fortunate. After not finding any traces, Zhang Ruocheng turned and ordered his gang, go. Zhou Zhang let out a sigh of relief, finally gone, my ears are about to be deafened by him. He muttered to himself, Zhang Ruocheng, if you do one thing, don't blame me for doing 15. At that moment, Zhou Zhang's phone suddenly rang. After answering, his expression turned slightly stunned. At the same time, Lanshi painfully collapsed to the ground, only able to cry out, woo. A martial artist anxiously rushed over and called out, Lanshi. The opponent immediately brought the sword close to his neck and shouted threateningly, don't move recklessly. He fiercely stomped on Lanshi, not of high level but with a fierce temper. A martial artist quietly said, hey, if we only wanted to take your turf, we could have talked it out nicely, we would leave. The opponent merely clicked his tongue, then grabbed Lanshi's head tightly, while stating, no, you guys are not at fault. The fault lies in the fact that your armor is just too good. He arrogantly declared, have you heard that Bright Wing Company ranks 13th in the capital? If you know what's good for you, hand over your weapons and armor to us, and I can let you survive and return. The martial artist softly responded, you guys aren't children, stop with the deceptive words trying to lure us, even if you are backed by Bright Wing Company, I fear you'll regret it in due time. Upon hearing this, the opponent shouted loudly, am I being courteous to you by speaking decently? Suddenly, a thick cloud of dust and smoke rolled in. In the blink of an eye, everything around was engulfed in haze, and no one could see anything. Zhou Zhang appeared just in time, and the members rejoiced, shouting, leader, you finally arrived. Hearing this, the man showed a curious expression, leader? Then he burst out laughing in a very derisive tone, huh? He stepped in front of Zhou Zhang and loudly mocked, 13th level leader. Ha, came here to hand out money, huh? At that moment, a man jumped down from above and shouted loudly, I hate the type who pretends to be what they're not. Zhou Zhang immediately dodged the attack, leaving them in a state of confusion. The leader exclaimed in astonishment, what's this? Am I seeing things? At this time, 2 martial artists simultaneously rushed towards Zhou Zhang, yelling, want to die? Trickster, cut him down. Zhou Zhang remained composed, smirking and insulting, you fools, only one word from you can hurt, so here we go. Outside the skyscraper, a deafening scream rang out from Bright Wing. Inside a tightly shut room, the owner of the scream seemed still unable to quell his anger. Saying that, the man slammed his hand down on the table. He stood before a screen where images of three men were tangled together.
Can anyone tell me?
This man was none other than the CEO of Bright Wing Company, Chen Yun-nan. Chen Yun-nan paused for a moment.
Chen Yun-nan's face darkened, and his gaze became colder. Each word reverberated in his mind like thunder. What on earth is going on?
The bespectacled employee next to him, seeing Chen Yun-nan's expression, immediately panicked and hurried to explain. The CEO, it must be Pan Shenghua who initiated the conflict, but for some reason, he ended up captured by this team. They are even demanding us to pay 47 low-grade black crystals for his release. The white-haired man sitting next to Chen Yun-nan, who had been silent until now, slowly stood up.
He looked at the screen and softly spoke, "A team of 10 actually dares to shout at Bright Wing?"
Then he turned to Chen Yun-nan, his voice icy, "As the minister of Bright Wing, Zhao Chongguang, I will lead people to eliminate them." The employee panicked, waving his hands frantically. "Director Zhao, Director Pan is still in their hands. They said that if we dare to act, they will kill the hostage." Zhao Chongguang exploded in anger, immediately dismissing his words. "Borrow a few of his guts and see if he dares." Chen Yun-nan remained motionless in his chair, his gaze unchanged.
In the sudden silence, he finally spoke, "Have you confirmed the origins of the opponents?" The employee quickly replied, "We have sent people, news will come soon." Before he could finish speaking, Chen Yun-nan's phone suddenly vibrated in his pocket. He turned around and stepped out of the meeting, his expression tense, answering the call with a worried tone. "Hello?" Unclear about what monumental news he had heard, all Chen Yun-nan could perceive from the shadowy figure was a question: "What?" Chen Yun-nan's hand fell limply, his face devoid of any expression, as the phone screen continued to illuminate. His complexion was becoming increasingly unsightly, and he lacked the courage to look Chen Yun-nan in the eye. He timidly said, "CEO, I think this matter is a bit difficult to handle." The scene shifted to Zhou Zhang, as someone from their group asked him, "Captain, do you think they will agree? After all, that's the third ranking force in the central capital. How could they tolerate us causing them trouble?" Zhou Zhang smiled, confidently affirming, "Don't worry, they will agree. Even if they want to send someone to deal with us, I wouldn't mind letting them come back empty-handed." Although Pan Shenghua had been humiliated, sitting in a corner, he still wouldn't back down. He spoke up, "You won't be happy for much longer. Seeking your own death, you can't blame others." That arrogance was quickly extinguished by a foot that landed squarely on his face, distorting his features. Despite Pan Shenghua being shocked and wide-eyed, Zhanhu, with a fierce expression, walked over to him and said, "I figured you out, the only thing strong about you is your mouth." At that moment, the watch on Zhou Zhang's wrist suddenly chimed, and a voice said, "Brother Zhou, Zhao Chongguang from Bright Wing has left with the shipment, it's just him alone." A satisfied look appeared on Zhou Zhang's face as he casually replied, "Sanzi, thank you." In response, Mr. Zhang on the other end replied, "Brother Zhou, there's no need to be polite, as long as you say the word, I'm willing to help you with anything." As Zhou Zhang had not yet finished the conversation, he turned his eyes towards the edge of the forest. A white car was speeding towards him, waiting for the training to end. All surviving trainees will automatically receive the identity of a representative of the central capital. No matter how big Bright Wing is, they are not qualified to go against the representatives. If they know their place, that would be good. At a high speed, the car suddenly accelerated, causing its tires to skid and smoke. The long car made a complete turn and parked neatly to the side. A silver-haired man stepped out, carrying a white sack over his shoulder. Upon seeing Zhou Zhang, his expression showed some surprise. Zhou Zhang surprisingly regarded it as a greeting, smiling broadly in response. "Director Zhao, up ahead is Zhou Zhang." He raised his hand to his chest, appearing friendly, but his words were sharply pointed. "I didn't expect Director Zhao to come personally, did you bring enough? If even one is missing, we won't release anyone." Behind him, Mr. Hu was angrily kicking Pan Shenghua in the face. Zhao Chongguang surprisingly responded cheerfully, "Huh, you really have guts."
Just with you guys, I can handle it all by myself. Zhou Zhang raised a finger and shook it a few times. Despite appearing to smile, there was a deep calculation in his eyes. You cannot. Zhao Chongguang surprisingly showed no anger at all. Instead, he cheerfully praised him. You truly are reckless. He let the hand holding the burlap sack drop and continued, if it weren't for the fact that your burial ground has no people, just based on your level 13, you would be worthy of being in the training center, worthy of becoming a reserve council member of the central capital. Zhou Zhang waved his hand and chuckled, whether I am worthy or not is up to you to say. Zhao Chongguang's expression became serious again as he slowly raised the bag he was holding. Stop with the words. Do you want to take the crystal? Do you dare to pass this trial of mine first? Zhou Zhang replied without hesitation. Seeing him agree without a trace of doubt, Zhao Chongguang was immediately taken aback and exclaimed, You truly are not afraid of death. Having said that, he bared his teeth and threatened, If you die, don't blame me. Zhao Chongguang swung the bag behind him and confidently advanced straight towards Zhou Zhang. He looked at him with a cunning smile, preparing to deal with him. No need for armor or weapons, you can strike first. Upon hearing this, Zhou Zhang took out a weapon from his person and spun it a few times in the air with his fingers. Director Zhao, don't blame me for not warning you if I strike first. And then he paused, gripping that weapon tightly in his hand. He looked at him haughtily and continued, I fear you won't have the chance to strike back. Zhao Chongguang on this side had not yet panicked, while Pan Shenghua behind him quickly expressed concern for him. Minister, what he says is true, if not, there may really be no chance to act. Zhao Chongguang angrily turned around and shouted at him, Shut up, and wait until I deal with you. As soon as he finished speaking, he quickly returned with a nonchalant attitude, telling Zhou Zhang, Hurry up, don't dawdle. Zhou Zhang smiled and said, Okay, in a flash. Zhou Zhang dashed towards Zhao Chongguang, his face brimming with confidence. Zhao Chongguang frowned and yelled, his hand raised at the same time. Zhou Zhang smoothly zipped past Zhao Chongguang, the man's hand stiff in midair, his whole body frozen in shock. Pan Shenghua helplessly sighed, It's over, it's this trick again. In the dark space, Zhao Chongguang's voice echoed, Ha! Under the sunlight, his eyes slowly opened. Zhou Zhang sat beside him, grinning widely, pretending to be concerned as he asked, Are you awake? As soon as he saw Zhou Zhang's face, Zhao Chongguang immediately jolted, beads of sweat forming on his forehead. He panicked and jumped up. Pan Shenghua, seeing this, anxiously called out, Minister! Zhao Chongguang suddenly grabbed the bag beside him and threw it fiercely at Zhou Zhang, Take it. But he was still quick-handed enough to catch it. Zhao Chongguang quickly returned, his expression as cold as ever. After a crushing defeat, he brought along Pan Shenghua, who was still bound, while behind him were the gloating and somewhat teasing words of Zhou Zhang, Mr. Zhao, take your time, you're welcome to come again next time. Once back, a noisy commotion erupted in an apartment, have you heard? Inside, a group of people was continuously chattering excitedly. Brightwing was caught off guard by a starlight. One person chimed in, I heard. It seems Zhao Chongguang stepping in didn't help at all. The two of them continued to talk animatedly. Apparently, that Starlight team was founded by a guy named Zhou Zhang. I heard he's also a member of the camp. If you hadn't heard of Zhang Zhou, he's the real deal. In their conversation, Zhou Zhang stood proudly in front of them, even adding to the excitement of the tale. Looks like in the future, if we encounter Starlight, we need to be a bit more honest. As his words concluded, in a dark corner unseen by anyone, Zhou Zhang secretly wore a mischievous smile. Soon after, he returned to his familiar room. Zhou Zhang sat in the middle of the dark room, the only source of light coming from the computer in front of him. President Liu, it's not that I can't help you, but the data from the 22ND session, except for a few crazy top-notchers in the training center, probably no one can hunt them down. On the other side, President Liu was also sitting in front of the computer screen. She replied, I understand, but I still believe in the abilities of War God Zhou. Looking at the screen, she smiled and continued, if you can truly help us obtain the materials for Course 22, then your future equipment will surely be superior in quality. Zhou Zhang opened his mouth slightly and replied, right now, in the Central Capital's Fighting Guild, the materials for Course 22 all start at the price of a rainbow crystal. He leaned back, stretched, and cheerfully said, "You don't have to tell me, I already know the value of this.
I will try my best to see what I can do."
Zhou Zhang reclined, crossing his hands behind his head, looking up at the ceiling, and continued, "As for Course 22, currently, only Kyushu Island has any exciting developments, but it seems like the freaks there have become quite numerous."
Just as he mentioned that, Zhou Zhang's eyes suddenly widened as if he had just thought of something. "That's right, with beasts here, isn't it difficult to explore?" In the blink of an eye, Zhou Zhang triumphantly rode a beast soaring through the vast sky. Sitting atop the beast, he joyfully encouraged it, saying loudly, "Beast, let's fly far, to places with fewer people." Gazing into the distance, the focus of his sight was now on a snowy mountain. Seeing that, Zhou Zhang directed the beast straight toward the peak. It landed powerfully, immediately kicking up a cloud of dust that filled the sky. Zhou Zhang also set foot on the ground for the first time. While adjusting himself, he grumbled irritably, "That bastard told it to fly far, and it really flew far like this for me. In this snow, not even a deserted village can be seen." As soon as he finished speaking, Zhou Zhang heard a commotion behind him. He turned his head and saw the beast leaping with a ground-shaking thud. Seeing that it had another frozen monster in its hands, he broke out in a cold sweat and said, "No wonder it brought me here, it usually comes here to hunt for food, huh?" Having obtained its prey, it began to gnaw on it while glancing at Zhou Zhang, who was currently observing the surroundings. "I wonder what level of beast this is. Surely it has a crystal inside its head, right?" Then, Zhou Zhang struck a spark, tiredly sighing. He immediately produced a piece of rainbow crystal. "Rainbow crystal, seems like I found the right place." Suddenly remembering the beast behind him, he quickly turned around to stop it. "Hold on, don't eat it yet, quickly take me to find the place where you usually hunt." Listening to that, the beast obediently spread its wings and soared, carrying Zhou Zhang high into the sky. Sitting on the beast's back, every word he uttered was accompanied by a breath of cold air. "Are you sure this is it? Below, there's nothing but snow." Then the beast seemed to encounter something, and it suddenly roared. Immediately interrupting Zhou Zhang's train of thought, he suddenly opened his eyes wide. In front of them at that moment was a swirling snowstorm so intense that Zhou Zhang couldn't help but exclaim, "Oh!" Beast, without hesitation, pointed him straight into the snowstorm. Under the pressure of the storm, Zhou Zhang clutched the head of it tightly with his hands. Every muscle in his face seemed to be bracing against it. However, the effectiveness was minimal. He lost his balance and was blown off Beast's back. Zhou Zhang was hurled away to an unknown location, struggling to stand up straight. Before him now lay a tranquil expanse, in stark contrast to the storm that had just passed. Next to a lake, he discovered two green creatures drinking water, beside which a panel displaying information labeled green-scaled beast appeared. Zhou Zhang stood aside, silently observing and grimacing. "I can't see a level, definitely an existence far beyond." The scene shifted again. Zhou Zhang was once more sitting on Beast's back. It crouched down, and he panicked no less than before. "What do you want to do?" It seemed to have detected another beast and charged in to attack, completely forgetting that Zhou Zhang was sitting behind it. He shouted loudly, "I told you to lead me, not to follow me into a fight." Beast opened its mouth and roared, immediately releasing a ring of fire surrounding them. On the other side, the monster was not to be underestimated either, launching a ball of power. The two streams of energy collided, immediately shaking the entire sky. Faced with such a horrific scene, Zhou Zhang couldn't help but curse, "Shit." He was both worried and had to observe the situation. It seemed that humans in perilous situations could easily stimulate their potential. "I've leveled up." Zhou Zhang was both angry and scared, gripping the beast's head tightly to the point where its features were distorted. Can't fight, if it continues any longer, I'm done for." A tactical retreat. Fortunately, this time it obeyed him, taking off into the sky to flee. Yes. Leaving the furious monster below, watching them leave. After a tough struggle, the two finally managed to rest by a lake. "Today I've opened my eyes, witnessing the high-level world of your beasts." Then the beast suddenly moved, its jaws clicking together. Seeing this, Zhou Zhang hastily asked, "Beast, what's wrong with you? Are you feeling unwell?" Right after, it regurgitated an indeterminate green object. He bent down to observe the strange thing and said, "Isn't this a scale from the dragon that just soloed with you?" Zhou Zhang's eyes suddenly brightened, and he smiled with satisfaction. "It's so big, a scale this size should be enough material for me, right?" The beast in the sky was diving straight down at an incredibly fast speed, attacking the grotesque blue monster on the ground. The beast bit fiercely into the enemy's neck, then struck the back of the blue creature's head. The beast had knocked it out. At this moment, the beast had brought down the enemy while Zhou Zhang charged in and shouted, "Beast, the rest is up to you." A week later, the beast was carrying Zhou Zhang on its back. The beast was flying over the mountains with strong winds blowing against them. Zhou Zhang was tying up a bag, pulling it tight, and smiling as he said, "We've collected so many materials, it should be enough to make some armor and weapons." Suddenly, he heard a strange noise. He looked down and said, "Oh, is there another beast to hunt?" Below was a red-eyed tiger, its body covered in spikes, racing forward. As it ran, it growled, and suddenly a dagger was drawn out. It turned out the one wielding it was level 24 Norwich. He said sternly, "I'm going ahead to check the area. The level of mutated beasts there is not suitable for you, you two should head back." The two behind could only listen in silence. The one standing behind, noticing Norwich had left, finally spoke up, "No wonder he's the war god of our Dijing team." The other beside him nodded in agreement. He rubbed his chin and said, "If Norwich can break through to level 25 this time, he could become the strongest martial artist in our country." Under the snowstorm, Norwich struggled alone against the cold, trying to move forward. Suddenly, a loud, terrifying roar sounded. As Norwich walked, he suddenly froze in shock, the snowstorm continuing to rage on. Sensing a change in the situation, Norwich hurriedly hid behind a rock to observe. Holding his weapon, he saw in front of him a beast engaged in a fight with an enemy, and fear washed over him, making his face pale. He thought to himself, "Where did this huge beast come from? I've never seen one in this area before." Suddenly, the beast raised its head and roared. Norwich realized he had been discovered and thought, "This is not good." Then, he drew his weapon, but it seemed the beast had overlooked him. The beast flew straight up into the sky, and Norwich sighed in relief. After noticing the beast had left, Norwich slowly approached the spot where the creature had been defeated. As he walked, he said, "Great, with so many, I can harvest plenty." Just as Norwich was planning to bring the monster's corpse back, someone suddenly approached. Zhou Zhang was leaning against a nearby rock, arms crossed, and said, "Brother, that is my prey." Norwich jumped and turned to see Zhou Zhang, and he thought to himself, "The guy is only level 14. Norwich was filled with arrogance. He thought, "No matter who he is, I'll cut him down first and then talk." Then he charged forward to attack Zhou Zhang. Seeing this, Zhou Zhang felt incredibly helpless and cradled his face, saying, "I knew it would be like this, beast, come." Suddenly, the beast appeared out of nowhere, flying down to land in front of Norwich and letting out a roar. Norwich, having seen the beast, trembled in fear and shouted, "Why have you come back?" He then turned to run away. Seeing Norwich terrified and trying to escape, Zhou Zhang grabbed his weapon and chased after him, shouting, "You still want to run?" Norwich couldn't believe that Zhou Zhang jumped over and flipped in the air from behind to the front. Norwich looked up and saw Zhou Zhang right above him, descending with his weapon, and he couldn't escape. Norwich hurriedly raised his hands and weapon to defend against Zhou Zhang's attack. At that moment, he thought, "Is this person crazy? What effect could such an attack have? What does he want to do?" In contrast, Zhou Zhang was incredibly excited, smiling as he lunged down towards Norwich. Norwich's face turned pale, and he felt his body unable to move anymore, still maintaining his stance. He thought, "What's going on? My body cannot move." Unexpectedly, Zhou Zhang jumped away without killing Norwich immediately. Upon landing, Zhou Zhang spoke, "Indeed, it cannot break through the defense. Beast, it's up to you." As soon as he finished speaking, the beast charged towards Norwich. After being attacked by the beast, Norwich collapsed on the ground. At this moment, Zhou Zhang gathered his things into a backpack.
He held something glowing in his hand and said, "No wonder so many people like to kill in the wilderness, the money comes in fast." Seeing Norwich lying on the ground, his face still bearing the look of fear before death, Zhou Zhang added, "It's a pity that such a powerful martial artist can't rely on his own strength to fight yet." At this moment, in the sanctuary, the snowstorm was still howling fiercely.
In the intelligence room, everyone was staring at the information board.
The cell on the board corresponding to Norwich had turned from blue to bright red. A girl, seeing this, involuntarily exclaimed, "Oh my God." The girl next to her turned pale. She said, "That's Norwich." In the conference room, only two people were discussing. The bald man was pointing at the map on the screen and said, "The Alliance Chief Protector Speaker detected the life signals of war god Norwich doused out here." Then he added, "And it was doused out in an instant. So we speculate that Norwich was killed in an instant." It turned out that the bald man was Andrew, the director of the intelligence center. The silver-haired man listening beside him was Vologa, the Alliance Chief of Alliance A.
He closed his eyes in thought and said, "So what is the result of your investigation?"
Upon hearing this, Andrew quickly replied, "From the wounds on Norwich's body, it seems to have been caused by a beast, but his weapon and crystal are completely missing, so it could also be that a martial artist passed by and picked them up." Vologa clenched his fists. He said seriously, "Send someone to investigate the market to see if Norwich's sword has appeared anywhere. This matter must be thoroughly investigated." On this side, Zhou Zhang was sitting on the back of a beast, his gaze focused on the system panel, his expression calm but with a mind full of calculations. He looked at the defense stats displayed on the screen and said, "Still missing 45 levels." Zhou Zhang continued to observe the panel, where his stats were displayed, then broke into a smug smile. He thought to himself, "At level 180, I will be able to wear all divine gear." He then looked at the watch on his wrist, the corners of his mouth curling up in a confident smile, and said, "Wait until that time, that's when I'll really put in the effort." Then he raised his eyes, staring into the distance as if preparing for a great challenge. "As for the point accumulation, let you all have some fun for now." At the burial area of Julie Company, a sudden voice rang out, "Oh my God, I can't believe." The doctor looked at the materials soaking in the solution and exclaimed in wonder. He said, "This is the first time I've seen materials at this level." Zhou Zhang sat in the room along with President Liu, monitoring the doctor through a large screen. The doctor continued, "The materials brought by CEO of Chu War God have 24 ranks." Upon hearing this, President Liu immediately said, "So? I hope I haven't disappointed you?" He then looked over at Zhou Zhang, smiled, and continued, "I truly appreciate you. This batch of materials is extremely valuable, and we will definitely repay you." Zhou Zhang merely smiled, appearing calm. He picked up his teacup, took a sip, and waved his hand, responding, "The materials can be sold to you, but I have a small request." President Liu immediately replied, "What request?" "We will do our best to meet it." Zhou Zhang took another sip of tea, then slowly said, "I want you to use the rank 24 materials to craft me a set of armor. I will give you 20% of the profits from these materials. What do you think?" President Liu looked at the scale in her hand, her eyes seemingly wide open in amazement. The scale emitted a sparkling light, unlike any material she had ever seen. Contemplating its potential, she couldn't help but feel confused. This scale was not only a precious item but also contained powerful energy, far beyond what she had imagined. No, that's not right, she told herself, her mind racing. A feeling of anxiety began to creep in. She was not only astonished by the appearance of the scale, but its energy was clearly extremely powerful, no less than level 24 as she had thought. Immediately, she couldn't contain her curiosity and hurriedly snatched the scale from Zhou Zhang's hand, her eyes sparkling brightly. She studied it intently and began to calculate in her mind. How could that small bag of his contain something this large? She wondered, but quickly realized that the issue was not the size but the scale itself. It was clearly not an ordinary item. Without hesitation, she held the scale in her hand, abruptly opened the laboratory door, startling the doctor inside. She shouted, "Everyone out!"
The doctor and the staff in the room were shocked and quickly left, leaving President Lu alone with Zhou Zhang. She quickly placed the scale into the scanner, anxiously waiting for the results. After a moment, the scanner's screen displayed results that made her take a deep breath. Level 30 plus. President Lu stammered, level 30 plus?
She stared at the results, unable to believe her eyes. The entire room seemed to pause, everything falling into silence for several seconds. Zhou Zhang stood behind her, arms crossed, a smug smile on his face.
He spoke in a calm tone, but it carried a note of pride. Well, isn't that shocking? President Lu immediately rushed to hug Zhou Zhang and shouted loudly, thank you, Mr. Zhou Zhang.
Then, President Lu suddenly realized something and froze for a moment. She quickly turned away, shyly covering her face with her hand and said, I'm sorry, I just thought about how this material can have a huge impact on Julie Company. I
got too excited.
Zhou Zhang saw this and replied, it's okay, I just want you to make 2 pieces for me first. Hearing this, President Lu was delighted and eagerly said, no problem, I will do it myself. After a week, the armor was completed and was being stored in a glass case. Zhou Zhang held the new weapon in his hands.
He said, no wonder it's a weapon with an armor-piercing rating of 30 plus.
At this moment, President Lu stood behind, excitedly adding, but we haven't named them yet. Upon hearing this, Zhou Zhang jumped up to show off his skills and continued, let's call it Qing Lin. At this time, at the central training base in the capital, everyone was training seriously. A long-haired soldier was sitting drinking water. He said, I think starting today, there will be a lot going on at the training center. Tang Su heard this and asked, what's up, has the higher-ups assigned any missions yet? Seeing Tang Su so curious, he forced a smile and replied, right now, the head of the council has officially announced that the mission channel of the training center has been approved and is about to be officially launched. Tang Su, puzzled, hurriedly added, isn't assigning missions a good thing? It can give the participants an additional path to earn points.
The soldier replied, do you think those people can negotiate to complete a mission if they encounter each other in one? After that, he turned away and said irritably, and if they meet in the mission, can they complete it?
Tang Su was taken aback by this and then thought about the image of his teammates training for battle, and he added, after all, our original intention is merely to select the best martial artists, only by surviving the sands can their true worth be proven. Unexpectedly, Zhou Zhang's watch displayed a notification, and the mission channel was officially live. Zhou Zhang, preparing to eat, was a bit surprised when he read the notification. After finishing reading, he calmly continued to eat, then said while eating, just as I thought, there will indeed come a day like this. After finishing his meal, everyone gathered in a room with 4 people.
Shen Junhang said seriously, does anyone have any good opinions regarding the mission system?
Xiao Jianling added, the missions from the channel will definitely cause martial artists to start forming groups at gathering places.
Individuals taking on missions will absolutely become the targets for other groups.
At this moment, Zhou Zhang was deep in thought. He contemplated for a moment and said, my suggestion remains that it's better not to encounter each other. Even if in teams, no one can ensure that their team will definitely catch the other. Shen Junhang was sitting with his arms crossed, and upon hearing that, he spoke up, that's not wrong, although the rewards are very attractive, with our strength, we should still hold our ground. Inform the other team members not to touch this task system. Xiao Jianling, seizing the opportunity upon hearing Shen Junhang's words, turned to Zhou Zhang and said, just because we can't, doesn't mean you can't. You and your dragon can handle any team, right? Don't you have any ideas? Suddenly, Zhou Zhang thought of something and said, let's see if there's a suitable task before talking. The next day, at the training center, everyone was reading the announcement on the information board displaying, Mission 1, Rank S, Snake King S Venom, Reward, 30,000 points, Description, Snake King S Venom Level 22. Mission 2, Exotic Herbs, Reward, 15,000 points, Description, 5 mutated purple flowers growing in the deserted land. Mission 3, Rank S, Top Secret Hard Drive, Reward, 35,000 points, Description, retrieve the main server hard drive on the 61th floor, Yangtze Xing Building, in the large area number 6, located in the central area of City S. Zhou Zhang approached from a distance, looked at the information board, and said, "The third mission looks very suitable for me. In such a street area, there will definitely be plenty of toxins, but for me, it poses no difficulty at all." Zhou Zhang looked at the system display of the watch, which was showing the tasks. Task 1 had 30 assignments, Task 2 had 127 assignments, and Task 3 had 50 assignments. Then, Zhou Zhang accepted Task 3. He clenched his hands tightly, walking away from the crowd while saying, 50 people, but there's only one hard drive. The difficulty of this task is not just zombies. After a moment, Zhou Zhang and Beast arrived at the task execution location. He excitedly exclaimed, "This is it." Zhou Zhang checked the information on the watch and murmured, "Oh wow, this task already has 113 participants." He jumped down below and thought to himself, if so, then let's go for speed. After that, Zhou Zhang quickly opened the parachute he had been carrying on his back. He calmly assessed the situation below. At the same time a small squad was about to embark on their mission.
Zhang Wei hurriedly reported, "Captain, we've secured the aircraft."
He spoke breathlessly, "There are 4 triangular fighter jets escorting us to the sky of City S."
Zhang Ruochang then replied, "All right, time is of the essence, let's move quickly."
He sternly instructed, "Earlier I saw Luo Ping has also set out, we absolutely cannot let them get ahead." At that moment, the zombies spotted Zhou Zhang and began to scream like animals that had been starved for a long time.
The parachute suddenly detached from his backpack.
Zhou Zhang excitedly dove down. He landed heavily, causing a cloud of dust to rise up. The zombies immediately surrounded him and began to howl incessantly. Zhou Zhang surveyed the area and then turned around to dash away.
In the blink of an eye, he had shaken off the horde of undead. He sighed in relief. Fortunately, there aren't many zombies around. Zhou Zhang quickly moved towards Building 67 and said, "This is the place."
He inspected the equipment and thought to himself, "I didn't expect that after so many years the warning electrical system is still intact."
Zhou Zhang swiftly pulled out the items, but even with the warning, so what?
He slammed the control panel and shouted, "I hope the security personnel come to catch me." The siren immediately began to blink and sound repeatedly. At the same time, 3 airplanes were headed toward City S, where the mission was to take place.
One person announced, "Mr. Zhang can prepare, parachuting in 3 minutes." Immediately, the martial artists took turns to jump and got ready to descend into the city.
Zhang Ruochang smirked proudly, "All right, let's see who can be quicker this time." Suddenly, he heard the continuous sound of the siren. Zhang Ruochang was startled to realize the warning, "Someone got there before us."
Down below, Zhou Zhang cursed out loud, "Shit." He was irritated and wondered, with so many servers, which one is actually correct?
Zhou Zhang then randomly picked up a hard drive. "Whatever, I think taking them all is the right thing to do."
In an instant, Zhou Zhang's spatial storage was filled with hard drives.
He smirked in satisfaction.
Zhou Zhang quickly left and shouted for a cleanup.
In just a moment, he had completed the task before the other martial artists could arrive. Zhou Zhang kicked the door open and saw the group of martial artists flying around in the sky. Upon seeing him, Zhang Ruochang exclaimed in surprise, "Zhou Zhang, why are you here?"
Wait, the alarm was triggered because he touched it. He yelled loudly, "Shu Zhou Zhang."
Zhang Ruochang rushed over and shouted angrily, "As a man, don't run away." Before he could run, he was suddenly scolded.
Zhou Zhang smirked disdainfully, "An old acquaintance, huh?" He raised a weapon and spoke, "Just in time to send you off a bit."
Seeing Zhou Zhang's weapon pointed at him, Zhang Ruochang shouted, "What do you want to do?"
Zhou Zhang quietly replied, "Don't you feel it?" He then launched an attack and mockingly said, "Isn't the landing speed too slow now?" The pointed end of the weapon pierced through Zhang Ruochang's parachute.
As he fell freely, he yelled furiously, "Zhou Zhang." On the other hand, I just relaxedly watched Zhang Ruochang perform his antics. He landed with a thud, causing the earth and sky to shake, and a cloud of dust rose up. Zhang Ruochang coughed angrily a few times, "Krug krug." Blood began to flow from his head, and the game was over. Zhou Zhang called out in disappointment, "And yet he still isn't dead." He immediately deployed his parachute and left, no longer having time to play with you guys.
At that moment, the crew members rushed to Zhang Ruocheng's side.
They anxiously called out to the captain.
Zhang Wei asked, "Captain, are you okay?"
Zhang Ruocheng irritably spat out a mouthful of blood and yelled, "Zhou Zhang, just wait until I catch you." At that time, Zhu Wei quietly said, "Captain, I noticed that Zhou Zhang doesn't seem to be carrying anything on him. It's very likely that he didn't obtain the solid ground." Zhang Ruocheng held his head and pondered for a moment, then he loudly ordered, "Clean up all the zombies, we're moving up."
After breaking into the building, the martial artists were stunned and cried out to the heavens. Zhang Ruocheng was taken aback and shouted Zhou Zhang's name. Inside was completely empty, the mean had eaten everything without leaving any scraps. Zhang Ruocheng angrily concluded that it must have been Zhou Zhang's doing.
At the same time, Zhou Zhang leisurely soared through the sky. He examined his equipment and thought to himself, "I need to fix the wings next time, they're too slow." Suddenly, Zhou Zhang noticed something.
Below, the zombies were flocking towards the building where Zhang Ruocheng and his team were standing.
Zhou Zhang smirked disdainfully, hoping that today would be enjoyable for them. In the blink of an eye, he had returned to the training center where missions were assigned. A girl spoke up, "Respectful student, greetings to you. If you need to receive a mission, you can do so directly inside the combat watch." Zhou Zhang corrected her, "I came to hand in my mission." Hearing this, the girl was taken aback.
Handing in the mission, but it hadn't even been a day yet.
Looking at the pile of hard drives behind Zhou Zhang, the martial artists were buzzing with discussion. These things were all brought back by him.
They secretly exclaimed, "How extravagant."
At the same time, a group of martial artists was engaged in a direct confrontation with the horde of zombies. They were howling madly, their mouths watering at the delicious, tender meat after days of fasting. The strong martial artists retaliated fiercely, with the team leader shouting commands, "Accelerate." Despite the warning echoing, those people were certain they would be surrounded. Who would grab the hard drive was still uncertain, and the brothers behind quickly responded, "Okay." Suddenly, the watch displayed a notification of mission completion. Zhou Zhang saw this and they were so overwhelmed that they spat blood. Wasting efforts fighting zombies without any harvest, the group of martial artists shouted in frustration, "What am I doing today?" At that moment, the director received the news and smiled with satisfaction. It hasn't even been a day since completing the hardest S-level mission. How did this Zhou Zhang manage to do it? From the documents I've obtained, there must be a huge beast as the final move. Perhaps he used the huge beast? What other surprises can he bring? At that time, Zhou Zhang was riding on the back of Xiao Tu, and the watch chimed with Xinjun Hang's voice, "Zhou Zhang, well done." This time, the martial artists who took on the mission must be furious. Zhou Zhang humbly replied, "Just lucky, took a step ahead." Xinjun Hang gently asked, "So, what are you preparing to do next, Brother Zhou?" Zhou Zhang looked ahead and answered, "Kyushu Island Sliver Snake Valley." An island bathed in the golden hues of sunset appeared before him. Zhou Zhang thought to himself, "It is said that unless one has a ranking near the front, one cannot take on the mission for the Silver Snake King." He believed, but they don't have the antidote, so it definitely won't be easy to complete like that. Thinking about it, Zhou Zhang pressed the button to accept the mission. At the same time, the Sliver Snake Valley enveloped in an exceptionally gloomy atmosphere. A martial artist rushed over and called out, "Brother, I need to report the situation." Yi Yihong seemed to have also brought his people over and was in the east. Chu Fei subtly remarked, "Su Qinglin and their team have arrived in the north." The martial artist, panting, asked, "Do we need to call a Xian in their group?" Chu Fei calmly said, "There is no need, you stand up and confidently think that I alone is enough." Hearing this, the martial artist next to him let out a light sigh of relief. "That's right, after all, no one can penetrate deep into the center of the Silver Snake Valley, we just need to stay outside and wait for the Silver Snake King to appear." He continued, "Even if the Silver Snake King appears with them, only Brother Fei has the strength to capture it." Upon hearing this, Chu Fei smiled with satisfaction. Suddenly, a strange noise came from afar, and Chu Fei immediately turned his head to look.
A fierce white snake flicked its tongue and roared loudly, its eyes blazing with murderous intent. Chu Fei was slightly taken aback.
At that moment, Zhou Zhan was riding on the back of a white tiger. He gently said, "In front is the Silver Snake Valley, little tiger, let's go."
After landing, Zhou Zhang silently lamented, "It's freezing cold outside, yet in the valley, it's unbearably hot."
Suddenly he heard a commotion, so Zhou Zhan went to check the situation. The scene of Chu Fei and his team battling the monstrous snake caught Zhou Zhang's eye, and he exclaimed in surprise, "Chu Fei!"
A martial artist shouted loudly, "Brother Fei, it's Zhou Zhang."
Chu Fei remained focused on fighting the monster and ignored him, prioritizing the battle with this snake first. The fierce snake opened its red mouth, devouring some delicious prey. Seeing this, Zhou Zhang turned and walked away, thinking to himself, "It seems they want to keep watch, but I can't wait." The martial artist couldn't help but exclaim, "Brother Fei, he just walked in like that."
After resolving the matter, Chu Fei puzzledly wondered, "What does this person mean?"
Thinking for a moment, he leaped towards Zhou Zhang, who had just left. Chu Fei loudly instructed his teammates, "You gather materials, and I will go take a look."
Meanwhile, Zhou Zhang was striding alone. He remained silent while assessing the situation. "Have I already been poisoned before even entering the central area?"
Zhou Zhang then took out a vial of antidote. "As long as I have this, I'll be temporarily safe at Silver Snake Valley." At that moment, a martial artist reported the situation, "Captain, Chu Fei has entered the valley."
Yi Yihong asked seriously, "Are you sure?" The martial artist replied, "I'm sure."
But before Chu Fei, it seems Zhou Zhang also entered.
Upon hearing this, everyone couldn't help but be astonished. Zhou Zhang, with his level, isn't he just asking for death by coming here?
Yi Yihong stood up and said, "That person just completed an S-rank mission, and has come here to stir up trouble. There must be something strange going on."
"I will go take a look." Two people were keeping watch outside, and the teammates responded, "Yes."
At the same time, Zhou Zhang had already sensed the presence of some beasts ahead of him. "Oh, there are quite a few." Suddenly, he felt a strange energy.
Chu Fei asked seriously, "Zhou Zhang, are you seeking death?"
Zhou Zhang said, "If you want to take my life, just based on this extremely toxic substance, I'm afraid you won't manage to do it."
He suggested, "Chu Fei, how about we collaborate?" Hearing this, Chu Fei could not help but be surprised. "How do we collaborate?"
"Behind you are still two martial artists." Zhou Zhang spoke accurately, pointing towards the back of Chu Fei and softly said, "It's us four working together to accomplish this mission."
"If I'm not mistaken, the ones coming are Yi Yihong and Su Qinglin." Chu Fei asked in astonishment, "Where are they?"
At that moment, Su Qinglin and Yi Yihong emerged from the bushes.
Chu Fei was a bit taken aback. "I didn't see anything just now, but how did he know who was coming?"
In the blink of an eye, four powerful martial artists had gathered together. Zhou Zhang snapped his fingers and, in a friendly manner, said, "All right, everyone, let's not be so tense.
To say it, we can consider ourselves classmates."
Zhou Zhang continued, "Everyone has come here for the Silver Snake King, but you also see the situation here.
Even if you all manage to hunt the Snake King outside, who can guarantee that others won't interfere?" Chu Fei quietly asked, "Then do you have a good plan?"
Zhou Zhang suggested, "Let's form a temporary team of 4. You all stay at the mouth of the valley while I lure the Snake King out.
The materials from the Silver Snake King will be shared equally among everyone." Yi Yihong was somewhat skeptical. "On what basis can we trust that you can draw the Snake King out?"
Zhou Zhang replied, "Just based on the fact that I can stand here now." He added, "So even if I can't lure the Snake King out, you won't suffer any losses and can continue to watch over this place, right?" Hearing this, Su Qinglin was convinced. "I agree with this plan." Chu Fei beside her also said, "Me too."
Yi Yihong thought for a moment, then calmly said, "I definitely don't have the ability to lure the Snake King. If he dares to go, then it's definitely not a loss."
Looking at Zhou Zhang's back, Yi Yihong quietly asked, "What do you all think? Can Zhou Zhang do it?"
Chu Fei softly replied, "Who knows?" Su Qinglin thought, "I believe he's not simple. I once investigated his background."
Yi Yi-hong continued, moreover, we have formed a temporary team through the center training system. Yi Yi-hong believed, completing the mission will earn the team members points, he wouldn't abandon this opportunity.
At the same time, Zhou Zhang was making his way alone towards Silver Snake Valley.
He walked carefully step by step. Zhou Zhang was slightly startled, the poison here is so strong, no wonder a strong man like Chu Fei wouldn't dare to step inside. Behind the bushes, a snake peered out. Zhou Zhang quickly activated his stealth technique and quietly approached. After getting closer, Zhou Zhang was extremely shocked by the scene before him. Several snakes were coiled together, he asked, how do we deal with this many? He noticed one that was different, with golden scales, it must be the leader of them, alongside two silver snake kings. Zhou Zhang thought to himself, even though the mission only requires the silver snake kings, triggering just one snake will definitely lead to a chain reaction in the valley. He silently calculated, the antidote is only effective for 30 minutes, if I stay here for a day, I would need to use up over 40 bottles. Zhou Zhang jumped down and told himself, let's see, if there's still no opportunity, I can only resort to extreme measures. At that moment, everyone's communication device beeped. Looking at the image of the monstrous snake that Zhou Zhang recorded, everyone exclaimed in shock, is it really that dangerous inside? After waiting for a while, Zhou Zhang thought that the snake showed no signs of wanting to move, he could not wait any longer. Outside, Su Qinglin grew impatient and said, it's been a long time, has something happened to Zhou Zhang? Should we contact him? Chu Fei calmly replied, he had previously said, don't contact him actively, let's wait and see. Suddenly, there were terrifying tremors coming from the forest. Zhou Zhang quickly reported, the snakes are coming out, gather everyone to prepare for action, the points from the four of us will be shared, but the materials from the Snake Kings can be evenly distributed among everyone. Hearing that, Chu Fei couldn't help but feel confused. He asked, Zhou Zhang, what are you doing? How can one Silver Snake King call everyone to divide? Zhou Zhang loudly clarified, what are you talking about? It's not one Silver Snake King, it's 3. Are you sure the 3 of you can handle it? At that moment, Zhou Zhang was sprinting to lure the group of snakes. The martial artists exclaimed in shock, God, you hold it down, we'll call for help. After gathering his teammates, Chu Fei shouted, everyone prepare, don't panic. At the same time, large tremors continuously spread, and the vicious snakes crawled forward. Zhou Zhang managed to run back in time, announcing, the prey has arrived. The martial artists then shouted, kill. After a moment of running hard, Zhou Zhang tried to catch his breath. Seeing the actions of the martial artists, he was taken aback. Zhou Zhang loudly commanded, Huang Long, step back, it's about to spit poison. Hearing that, Huang Long began to assess the situation. He jumped to the side just in time to avoid the poisonous strike from the monstrous snake. Huang Long stammered, thank you. After that, Zhou Zhang continued to guide everyone, Lulu, you need to aim for its head, otherwise, expect to get bitten by the snake. Li Shubin, attack its left eye, that's its blind spot. Seeing this, Chu Fei thought to himself, I didn't expect this kid to have such practical combat experience. He looked ahead, if he wasn't mistaken, the Snake King of Su Qinglin had definitely been severely injured. With his level, being able to inflict serious harm on a Snake King in a crowd of snakes was impressive. Chu Fei thought to himself, indeed, there are talents that cannot be judged by common reasoning. At the same time, Zhang Ruochang shouted angrily. Zhou Zhang's call was displayed on his watch. Zhang Ruochang couldn't help but be surprised. The city lord gently reminded him, Ruochang, I have found the materials you need, but regarding Zhou Zhang, I think you should carefully consider your relationship with him. Zhang Ruochang angrily replied, City Lord, you don't know Zhou Zhang, he... Before he could finish, his superior cautioned him, regardless of any issues between you and him, I hope you can let them go. Because Zhou Zhang has the strength to kill, you'll understand after you review the materials. After going through the report, Zhang Ruochang could only gawk in astonishment. At that moment, Zhou Zhang rode on his beast and gently asked, Boss Shen, are you really not coming over? Shen Junheng firmly stated, no, the most important thing for us right now is to improve our combat experience, otherwise, we won't be able to keep up with your pace. Hearing this, Zhou Zhang had to agree. Alright, when you encounter difficulties, you must find me. Shen Junhang reminded him, you are now famous at the training center, so be careful. The first time the martial artists saw the beast, they were astonished. Su Qinglin widened her eyes and exclaimed, Zhou Zhang, you're something else for hiding a beast like this.
Luckily, we didn't mess with you, otherwise, we wouldn't know how we would die.
Xu Fei quietly remarked from behind, even without thinking, this Zhou Zhang is definitely not simple. It's a pity those people from Hurricane City lack brains. Zhou Zhang smiled and spoke, today, everyone has gathered because I have a good plan that can help you all earn money while also gaining merit points.
Yi Yihong immediately showed interest, asking, what plan? Zhou Zhang gently inquired, do you know what grinding monsters are? Grinding monsters means that for every certain number, you have to kill that many, and the more loot you gather, the better. After some discussion, Zhou Zhang took the initiative to lead the monster hunt, and someone from the other side asked, how many this time?
Zhou Zhang replied, 27 monsters.
Everyone cheered joyfully.
7 days later, there had been significant changes on the leaderboard. Yi Yihong ranked second, Su Qinglin ranked third, while Zhang Ruocheng had dropped to ninth place. Zhang Wei anxiously comforted him, Captain, it's fine. You only fell from fourth to ninth, you can catch up quickly. Zhang Ruocheng looked gloomy, as if hit by a dart of frustration.
He shouted loudly, look at that Zhou Zhang.
Zhou Zhang had risen to rank 78.
At the same time, everyone was chatting in the canteen.
Su Qinglin gently said, Brother Fei, we are thousands of points behind each other, it's so hard to catch up to you.
Xu Fei replied, cut it out. A few thousand points?
I remember it was a matter of just closing my eyes for you all to surpass me.
Xu Fei looked over at Zhou Zhang and continued, on the contrary, that guy over there, with that appearance of his, it would just be a matter of time before he catches up to us.
Su Qinglin quietly said, never mind, anyway, having earned so many points like this, I don't intend to compete for points with this monster. Yi Yihong happily nodded in agreement, that's right, let's just see what tasks he takes on in the future.
Zhou Zhang smiled and said, what if my ally stops working with me? What should I do? Would I have to do it all by myself?
Suddenly he noticed a notification on his watch and Zhou Zhang mumbled, S-rank mission, steal phoenix eggs, interesting. After a while, he arrived at the gravel gobi. A man spoke up, bro, according to our intel, this is the nesting ground of the phoenix. Zhou Zhang then pulled out a crystal pouch, you've worked hard, this is your reward.
The man happily flattered, hee, boss is generous. He then added, I know a lot, but the phoenix is a beast of level 23. What do you intend to do here?
Zhou Zhang candidly replied, steal the eggs.